Welcome to the High Adventure Scouting Podcast. This is the source for all things high adventure for scouts, scouters, and anyone else interested in promoting high adventure trips for our youth. You can find all kinds of great high adventure options for your scouts at highadventurescouting.com. We are constantly updating the list of cool trips, and we want your input on your best trip. Hi, this is Rob from High Adventure Scouting Podcast. This recording didn't make it to the air for some reason. I'm really not sure why, but I found it in my files and we have it here for you today. There were some issues with the recording and the audio, and not all of the conversation came through. But there's enough of the conversation to make it a good podcast. So enjoy. Welcome, High Adventure enthusiasts. We're excited, as always, to highlight high adventure on this edition of the High Adventure Scouting Podcast. Today, we are joined by Cliff Langey, owner and operator of Swiftwater Adventures, located in Carlton, Minnesota, just south of Duluth. Swiftwater is not a BSA high adventure base like we're used to interviewing, but many scout groups will visit their location, which is really why we wanted to hear about their program offerings. Cliff, thanks for joining us today on the High Adventure Scouting Podcast.
Hey, thanks. I'm excited to be here and share the stoke for what we do.
Cool. All right. Now, the purpose of this podcast is to give listeners a little more information about the adventures you offer. And if you could just start out with an overview of what you guys do and how you do it, and we'll just kind of go from there.
Cool. Well, Swiftwater Adventures is a guide-owned and operated whitewater rafting and kayaking adventure company. Our primary thing, our bread and butter, is whitewater rafting on the St. Louis River, which is the largest U.S. tributary to Lake Superior. Typically it's class 2 to 3 rapids, and we run about 2.5 hour trips on 2 different sections of the St. Louis River. And then we also do whitewater kayaking lessons and trips. And for the scouts, additionally to that, we do the whitewater and kayaking badges as well. So we try to, kind of mix it up. We can offer all sorts of different paddling adventures for those looking to get on the water and get wet.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, are there any heavier rapids than 2 to 3? Does it go up any further from there on the St. Louis?
Yeah, it depends on the time of year. Like typically high water is May and June, and we have class 3 plus to 4 minus on the upper section, which is, pretty good sized waves, anywhere from, 3-4 foot waves to sometimes 8 to 12 foot waves. And then we also run the lower section, which is a little bit more technical. When the lower section is in, it goes through a canyon, and through there, in high water, it's just too dangerous to go through that canyon. So once the river levels drop, we run the lower canyon, which is class 3 and 4, and it's more technical, like drops, 3, 4 foot, 5 foot drops, dodging boulders and stuff. So depending on the water levels, we give the best adventure possible.
That's awesome. Now, do you have a favorite option that you like to run?
I like the upper section a lot in May and June when it's high water, especially June when we get the June rains. It's a lot warmer than early May when it's still kind of cold from the spring runoff. And I like those big waves. I just like, I'm usually in a kayak. I'm out there trip leading. And so we have rafts out there. I'm in a kayak as like the safety kayak or trip leader. And there's something about riding up in a big wave and just having it crash across you to really like make you feel alive. So I like the big water.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We all know the major high adventure bases around the country, and they offer some awesome programs. Have you been searching for a cool alternative from your typical high adventure trip? As a scout leader, I want to give our scouts some great alternatives. You need to check out highadventurescouting.com. You'll find information on over 30 different council high adventure bases in 24 states. Maybe you're looking for a do-it-yourself option and need some ideas. Maybe you've taken a great trip and you want to share your good fortune with your fellow scouts and scouters. Just send us the details and we'll publish your trip. Whatever your interest, highadventurescouting.com is the one-stop shop for all things high adventure. That's highadventurescouting.com. Now, what's the minimum? Is there a minimum maximum size for groups coming up and participating in your adventures?
No, just as long as a group can fill a raft. So as long as they have 5 or 6 people, and we've taken groups as big as 85 people before. So as long as we have enough heads up, we can accommodate the large or the small.
All right. Now, is there an age limit for any of the the kayaking or the whitewater adventures or anything like that?
Yeah, for the Whitewater Adventures, it's ages 10 and up, and then for the kayaking, ages 12 and up.
That encompasses most scout groups.
Yeah.
Most of them are taking 11-year-olds. That's kind of the minimum for most scout groups. So that kind of encompasses everybody. So that's good. Um, Now, is there a busier season than obviously summer? I'm guessing, but do you guys sell out during the season, or is it how far in advance do you need to make arrangements, things like that? What?
Yeah, I would say our busy season, things really get cooking the third weekend of June, and then pretty much till Labor Day weekend, it's pretty busy, especially Saturdays. Those trips fill up, So we try to tell scouts if they, let's say they want to plan a trip, is well, if they want to do something for sure, especially for a bigger group, give us at least a week heads up so we can make sure we got room for you. And a lot of times too, a lot of scout groups are coming with us on like Friday afternoons or Sunday mornings when it's not quite as busy as a Saturday. But if we have
Mhm.
enough heads up, we can accommodate most groups at any time.
Now, if they came during the week, it sounds like it'd be a little bit easier to get in and have a little bit more opportunity. Is that?
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, we run trips 7 days a week. Twice a day most of the time in June, July, and August. It's just typically there's more people that want to go on Saturdays, and
Right.
so we do our best to accommodate the large groups on Saturdays. And I like the weekdays too because the trip size is a little bit smaller. But even really big trips, when we have, let's say 70 people that want to go, we split them into smaller trips so that smaller trip sizes. Even though it's 80 people going on the river, we'll split those into micro trips within that so people can still have an intimate experience and not feel crowded and get to enjoy the river and everything that's out there.
Awesome. Awesome. um, Now, obviously, you provide all the equipment, so you just kind of show up and go. Is there any uh, skills that scout groups and other groups like that would need prior to coming, or are there skills that would be good to have before they get there?
Well, overall, no experience is necessary as long as you show up with, the right attitude. That you're willing to put in some effort. You'll have a good time, and we provide all the instruction, the guide, everything. So you show up with your sense of adventure. We give you the gear and the directions, and in that raft, you listen to the guide, and we get you down the river safely. So really, nothing's necessary. Showing up ahead of time, other than just making sure you're there and you can physically paddle.
Right, right. Um, are there any groups that decide to do more than one of the 2.5 hour trips? Or is there availability or in that area to do two different types of trips over 2 days, or is it just basically a 1 day thing?
Well, what some other stuff we offer, just because the length of the river is about 5 miles, so it's typically a 2.5 hour trip. But those that are in the area looking to do other things, sometimes we stack on the whitewater kayaking on top of that for the whitewater and the kayaking badges. And then we also
Hmm.
do on the Thompson Reservoir, we have sit on top kayaks, canoes, and stand up paddleboards. And that the Thompson Reservoir, where the river spills into, is sort of a miniature boundary waters. It's a 500-acre man-made reservoir, and there's rocky islands, tall pines, and other small river spills into it. So you kind of get that micro boundary waters experience where you can paddle along and see Canadian shield type rock, and tall pines and eagles flying around. It's a pretty cool experience. So we try to give people a few different options besides rafting if they're looking for more.
Well, that's great. Now, you mentioned that some scout groups will go to Jacob State Park. Are there other places that let's say a troop wanted to take a somewhat a destination and going up for 5 days? What are some other things in the area that you would recommend to
Oh
people
man,
coming up that direction?
yeah, lots of good stuff. I would say besides rafting with us, at least hiking around Jay Cook State Park. There's some beautiful topography, like a lot of high bluffs above the river. And then you're right there, 15 minutes away from Duluth, Minnesota, which is kind of the gateway to the North Shore of Lake Superior, which is just beautiful scenery. And every 10, 20 miles is a state park on the North Shore, and lots of beautiful cascading rivers that spill into the lake. So you really can't go wrong. I'd say besides Jay Cook State Park, my other favorite park is Tittagoot State Park, about an hour north of Duluth. And that's where there's 200-foot cliffs that overlook Lake Superior. The Baptism River flows through that park and has a 70-foot waterfall, the highest within the state of Minnesota. And the Sawtooth Mountains, just gorgeous scenery. And then, of course, further north from there is Ely, Minnesota, and the gateway to the Boundary Waters. So if you have a few days to explore northeast Minnesota, you're going to get some awesome paddling, hiking, mountain biking, and great views of Lake Superior.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I mentioned before we started recording on this that I took a group up Boundary Waters this summer, and it was just perfect weather. It was great. We didn't have any rain, so which was odd for that area, but it was just perfect. Mosquitoes weren't bad. Everybody worries about the mosquitoes. We didn't have any real issues with that. So I'm not sure I'm prepared to say there's no issues with mosquitoes in Minnesota, but
it depends.
We didn't have a problem. So
yeah, how dry it's been, what time of the summer that you hit the Boundary Waters. Usually August they're a little bit more chill than they are in June. When it's kind of wetter that time of year. But there's always some bugs around: deer flies, horse flies, biting black flies, mosquitoes. That's just kind of just the nature of the beast. But especially when you're out in the water canoeing around, it's usually a good reprieve from the bugs.
Exactly. So, well, what kind of things did we leave out? I mean, what kind of things that are kind of interesting or different interesting facts that I didn't even know about your adventure options?
Well, like overall, as far as like, I think you kind of asked a little bit earlier about like what it costs for scouts. We run a special rate for Boy Scout groups, groups of America. 30.
Cliff, I appreciate you joining me today and kind of telling a little bit more about Swiftwater Adventures, and I think we've got a pretty good idea what you guys do. So I appreciate you being with us today. I want to thank Cliff Langey, owner and operator of Swiftwater Adventures, for joining us today. Now, you can get more information on their programs at www.swiftwatermn.com. That's swiftwatermn.com. Thanks for joining us today, and remember to tell your friends about this podcast. You can find us online at highadventurescouting.com, on Facebook or Instagram. If you have any questions or ideas for future podcasts, just email us at info@highadventurescouting.com. This podcast and website are independent and not affiliated with any youth organization. Happy High Adventure! This has been a production of High Adventure Resources.